doing, man?
Get away from her, you bitch!
Oh, I love that. That's so good.
Yeah.
It's referenced so often in pop culture. I think there's an episode of American Dad that it happens in, or something really weird. Because it's very easy to just have somebody walk in from a bright background in a big suit.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be a mech suit. Just give them some really tall shoes or something. Do you know what I mean? And then it's very easy to replicate.
Yeah.
Plus it's so, infinitely recognisable. Like the Terminator falling into the vat with his thumb sticking out.
Yeah.
It's so recognisable. It's brilliant.
No, it was instantly iconic. But before we get to that, and why it's so iconic, we've got some bullshit to talk about.
We do. We are knee-deep in bullshit.
Yes.
We need Hercules to clear the stables of whatever the fuck it was. What's the story? It's something like that.
What?
Hercules, that was one of his labours.
Oh.
Was to clean Hercules' fifth labour, the Augean stables.
Oh, I see.
For the fifth labour, Eurystheus ordered Hercules to clean up King Augeas' stables. Hercules knew it would mean getting dirty and smelly, but he routed a river, so it just washed it out.
Yeah.
I always thought, wouldn't that mean that he just washed the horses down the river? Which doesn't seem like a good thing to do.
No.
But, I'm not Hercules, so what do I know?
No, you are not Hercules.
No, I have too much of a pasta belly to be per Hercules.
What I will say is that this is gonna be the first bullshit segment that we've started doing, where we take the bullshit that we talk about and put it out as an actual sort of segment that you can listen to if you just want to hear.
Exciting.
Yep. So for those that are listening,
that we refer to these sections as segments, as though they're part of a citrus fruit.
Yeah, well, do you know what? I just thought it sounds formal, even though we are the most informal couple of idiots life has ever managed to fart out. And
I'm drinking coffee that's gone cold. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
But anyway, so let me spin the fabled wheel of bullshite. Woo! Football between Scotland and England.
Yes, football happened, didn't it? I watched it.
Yeah.
It was a fucking boring match. Right. I've done some thinking about football, and I've come up with a conclusion. Football, as a game, is extremely well designed. The point system is very well designed. The rules are a good balance between intricate and simple. I think that it's an interesting game as a concept, because it has the idea of such and such a person has strengths in such and such an area, and such other people have strengths in different areas, and so it's about balancing the people that you have on the team to make an all-rounder team, or a very attack-heavy team, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And there's also an element of chaos in the fact that one of your players could just start vomiting on the pitch. Who fucking knows? I think it's a very well-designed game, but I don't like the hooliganism and the intensity that comes with it.
Yeah.
People that are I will support this football team forever until I die.
Yeah.
I will get drunk and fight people in a pub over this football team. It's mate, come on now.
I know.
You've got a wife and kids back home. Do you not think you should be over this? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, well, it happened on Friday. The match between Scotland and England in the Euros. And by the way, this is I think probably the second time that I've spoken about football, which is really fucking irksome. I don't want to have to see this in the news. I don't want to have to talk about this shit. But yeah. So I was on the train down to London, and on the Thursday, and there was
Oh God, yeah, of course you were.
Yeah, there was a lot of fucking football fans on the train, and it was they weren't doing anything. They weren't doing anything bad. And see, when I got off the train, it was. I hate to say it, but I felt a sort of weird sense of belonging with these absolute fucking idiots going, "It's coming home, it's coming home." It's you're in another country, mate. So where is it coming home to? You know?
Yeah.
But I really liked the reactions because it was for those that didn't watch it. It was 0-0. And everyone in Scotland treated that as an absolute resounding victory that must be celebrated until the end of time. And people in England, on the whole, were just like, it was, well, there you go. Because I know that Scotland, like, compared to England, doesn't have a very good football team. So I think, like, especially when I went down to London, the people that I spoke to were rather surprised by Scotland's performance.
Yeah.
So I mean, I have no idea what that means for the grand scheme of things. But
would you like me to explain it to you?
Yeah.
With my poor understanding of the way it works?
Yeah, go on.
I think it's essentially a tournament system, but there are too many participants for it to be a basic tournament. So instead they have groups of teams, and then those teams battle it out to move on to the next round, and so on, until eventually you get a winner. So Scotland and England just so happen to be in the same group. And I think the way it works is, I think it's 3 points for a win, 2 points for a draw, 1 point for a loss. So after each match, a team will have a point score that gets updated, and that will determine the number of points they have at the end of that group session or whatever. After all the groups matches have played, that number of points will determine whether or not they move on or not.
Right.
That's how it works, I think.
I see. Okay. I still don't really understand it, but there you go.
It was ever so strange because there was this Scottish commentator. Clearly, because we watched it on ITV, so the ITV coverage was like... Clearly, they didn't want to fork out to broadcast it separately in Scotland and England.
Yeah.
So they got like an English commentator and a Scottish commentator who clearly weren't very happy to be working with each other. And they were like, every now and then England would get like a corner or a free kick, and the Scottish commentator would be like, oh, they didn't deserve that. Oh, that's ridiculous. Oh, and then the exact opposite would happen when the same thing happened to Scotland.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre.
I do like a sort of Scottish commentator's voice, because it always sort of sounds like, and here we are back at the game, and we have multiple sort of strategies being played out before us, and here we go, and football name number 1 has been given the ball, and he is moving into the halfway zone, and it's like that really. I don't know why. Like every football commentator sounds like a guy who's like in his mid-40s and like just really is struggling to keep his eyes open when he's watching.
I think that's because they are. I think that's because that what you just described is the demographic of football commentators. Like it was, it's ever so strange because I think it was quite a big deal recently that an ex, I think it was the female England football team. A player that used to play for them became a commentator fairly recently for like, I think it was Sky News or Sky Sports. Or I'm going to be honest with you, Dan. I'm pulling this out my arse. This is like fourth-hand information, but like I'm pretty sure that happened, and she was there during the Scotland v England Euros. She was like pitch side.
Yeah.
And it's quite stark to see like the Sky Sports team, and it's like half a dozen middle-aged men and her. It's really strange. Like it's bizarre to have such a singular demographic that you go for as your commentators. It's weird.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just a bizarre. It's such a bizarre thing that this sort of sport is so sort of fervently defended and fervently attacked on behalf of. Do you know? I saw like it was quite funny, but like also at the same time, I was sort of embarrassed to be. From Scotland. I saw a large group of Scottish gentlemen in London at the statue of William Shakespeare, and all of them in.
Why is it in London?
I'm sure it was in London.
Wasn't he from Stratford? So, no, I'm agreeing with you. It probably was in London, but I'm saying who erected a statue of Shakespeare in London? Whose decision was that?
Oh, I don't know. Some fucker. Should have stayed in Stratford, because then this wouldn't have ever happened. They were all chanting in unison. You're just a shite, Rabbi Burns.
Rabbi Burns.
Robert.
As in Robert Burns.
Yeah, Robert
Scottish
Burns.
poet.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way Scottish people pronounce it is Rabbi Burns.
Okay.
And I'm sure if Robert Burns was alive, he'd be like, "Can you please stop mispronouncing my name, you bunch of arseholes?"
I imagine someone quite as literarily focused as Robert Burns, he probably would be like, "No, I'm Robert Burns and I'm nothing else."
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, I like
Call him
Shakespeare.
Bill Shakespeare.
I really like Shakespeare. Was a very intelligent man. So to see, my countrymen screaming, "Yeah, just yeah, like that," and that sort of horrible Glaswegian vernacular. I was like, oh my god.
I mean, I have no strong opinions either way about Shakespeare. I don't think I'm familiar enough with Robert Burns' work to criticise.
Yeah, he was a poet, and Shakespeare was a poet, but he wrote about 1 million plays as well.
I mean, poetry is one of those things I struggle to appreciate. I think because it's there's this really interesting quote. I forgot where I heard it from. It might have been a book that's not at all to do with art, but they said it's pointless trying to go up to a piece of art, if it's a sculpture or a painting, whatever, and say, okay, so what does this mean in words? Because if it meant something in words, you would have said it.
Yeah, true.
So I always think, is poetry not sort of self-limiting in a funny way? I don't know. It's a bit of a strange thing, because what the connotations a certain word might have for the poet might be completely different to the connotations a certain word might have for the reader.
Yeah.
So you're making a subjective sort of piece of art when you want to be sort of saying this one particular point of view. I don't know. I've never seen the appeal of poetry. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe poetry is objectively good and I'm just thick. But I don't know. I've never been a huge poetry fan.
No, I've never read a poem and been like, oh my god, that is amazing. I mean,
I've never read a poem and thought it was better than an equivalent piece of prose.
Yeah, I imagine that you would probably have. I think poetry is one of those things that you would have to study in order to appreciate, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, if anyone just read The Great Gatsby without actually sort of, trying to think about what it means and what the symbolism is, I think they would just be like, wow, these people are fucking awful.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's the same with Of Mice and Men. You'd be like, God, that book's over quickly. That big guy just killed a lady. That was a bit weird.
Yeah, no, definitely.
You wouldn't care about it, yeah.
But yeah. So that's that was my bit of bullshit for the week.
My only remaining qualm with football at the moment is that it's frustrating that the economy is reopening starting with football, which is perhaps the worst place to start that.
Yeah.
Because it's all well and good saying, like, there's all these laws about pubs, like you have to be sat down in a pub and you have to be eating as well as drinking, or you can't sort of move around in the pub sort of thing. But then also there's people crowding around outside Wembley and it's like, oh, there's 6,000 people in this tiny little square.
Yeah.
And now if one of them's got COVID, they all will have by the end of the night.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the point in playing it that way? Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah, I do.
You either go with a sort of a proportion-based reopening or a completely random happenstance-based reopening, and it's the happenstance one is what Boris seems to have gone with in his infinite glory and wisdom, rather than let's just, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're in a theatre, whether you're going to watch football, whether you're in a pub, whatever you're doing, you can only have these set of rules to follow. As long as you follow these rules, do what you like. Surely that would be a more sensible way to do it, and say, okay, well, we can open theatres a bit slowly, or we can do this, we can do that. Oof.
No, definitely. I mean, I think that there is a sort of greater leniency to football when it comes to what's allowed.
Insanely frustrating.
Yeah, it's like, what was it? The march, the feminist march. I can't remember where it was in London. Like the huge police presence that was there, and like the number of arrests that took place, and it was a vigil, and it was so overly sort of.
Oh Christ! Yeah, I remember that. It was about the sort of recent killing of a woman by a police officer.
Yeah. And
then there was just this overwhelming police presence, and you think, well, can you not see the irony there?
Yeah.
Can you not see how that maybe is a bit fucked?
And then it was either like just before or like very shortly after there was a huge football march, and police weren't like intervening; they were like sort of escorting, which is like. I mean, just proportionally, how those two things, like, how can you justify the sort of different measures of response when one erupted in fights over men kicking a fucking ball around, and the other was something that's actually really fucking important? And
yeah, exactly. I mean, you're completely right.
I'm not having a go if you like football and all that, and you get into it, and it's your thing, and it's your passion. I'm not having a go, but it's just like proportionally, it's rarely ever. Yeah, exactly. But well,
it's one of the. No, I completely understand what you mean. It's the things we see in life influence the way we live our lives.
Yeah.
And like if you see on, even if it's EastEnders or something, if there's a lesbian couple in one of the houses and you think, oh, then there's kids watching, you think, oh, well, the kids must just know, oh, that's acceptable then. The things we watch influence the way we live our lives. So to see, like, it's okay in times of pandemic for people to go to the football and spread COVID around and go and do some heavy drinking and, it's just... The things we see influence the way we live our lives, and it frustrates me to see such bizarre hypocrisy of like, you can kneel if you want to be against racism, rather than shouldn't we all just be against racism?
Yeah, definitely.
Should that not be a default standpoint?
Yep.
Oy.
No, it's just it is like, you're allowed to go and trash George Square, but you can't stand at a vigil for a woman who was killed. But life is shit, so you say the way we the things we see influences our lives. That's why I'm a miserable fuck. But there you go.
You're right. The things we see influence our lives and all that stuff. That's why I haven't deleted a lot of social media, but like I deleted Reddit off my phone because I don't even know the password, so. I'm never going to get access to a Reddit account again.
Yeah.
But like, I've deleted Reddit and I'm like had a big following purge. Like I went through my Twitter and unfollowed a lot of people. I went through my Instagram and my Facebook and like unfollowed, defriended, and all that stuff. And now I'm just a bit happier in general. I'm just a bit happier because I don't have to see, like, after a while of scrolling through Twitter, you get through all the stuff. It's like, oh, people I know are doing things, and then it's people I don't know are talking about politics.
Yeah.
And then that just makes me very angry.
Yeah.
So it's just nice to be away from that.
Definitely. But there you are. That was the first bullshit segment. And
yeah,
it was a bit rambly, but that's the whole point, I suppose.
It is.
Yeah. So thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for those that are actually listening to the full podcast, now we have to talk about the film. So see you next time, unless you're still listening. But yeah, so this week we're talking about the sequel to the film we did last week, which is Aliens. Yeah. And
this time there's lots of aliens.
Yeah, there's more than one. That's a really interesting way of doing it. Like Night at the Museum. What if there was just multiple museums that they had to go to?
That kind of is what happened in Night at the Museum too, though.
Oh, it was the Smithsonian. Yeah,
there was lots of, because the Smithsonian is made up of several different museums. So, Terminator 1, Terminator 2. There were 2 Terminators.
Yeah.
Terminator 2. God, is this just like a thing that I didn't realise?
They should have just said another night at another museum. That could have been the title of it. That would have been better.
Chloe and I recently watched all 3 Night at the Museums back to back.
I didn't really like the third one.
It was okay. It's better than the second one. The second, it seems to be a weird thing. Is like the third film they kind of rediscover what made the originals okay.
Yeah, I mean the second one had the guy from Friends as the brother of Rami Malek's character.
Hank Azaria.
Yes,
is that who you're talking about?
That's who I'm talking about.
Yeah, and also from The Simpsons.
Yes,
and from loads of fucking stuff.
Yep.
He's done loads of stuff. Hank Azaria has.
He certainly has. But anyway.
Yeah, and it's, he's funny because he's got a lisp. Is that the funniness of his character trait? Surely the funniness is Hank Azaria is a funny guy.
Yeah,
and he's a skilled actor as well. Can't you let him do some acting rather than making him put a funny voice on? Do you know what I mean?
No, definitely.
That's weird.
I do like the sort of scene between him and Ben Stiller when they're arguing about it's like, don't touch this, and it's like, if you touch this I will kill you again, and then he keeps touching it and he's like, I'm gonna kill you if you keep touching it. It's like, just it's a it lasts for about 5 minutes and it's actually quite amusing. But we're not talking about the night at the museum. We're talking about a film that is tonally incredibly similar. And
Tonight at the Museum.
Yep. I'll figure out how to branch those 2 trees loose in a minute. And it was written by James Cameron. It was directed by James Cameron and is starring Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, Paul Reiser, Lance Henriksen, and Gary Hune? Hern? Hen
fuck's
Hen with two N's.
No, we're gonna have a look.
It's Gary Hen.
Aliens.
I'm 98% sure it's Gary Hen.
98% sure. Okay. There is just a very close-up picture of Sigourney Weaver's face. Is the picture on IMDb? Carrie Hen. Henn. Yep.
Oh, Carrie Hen.
Carrie.
Oh, I've put Gary. But anyway,
It's a little.
I know.
I honestly think it was called Gary. She was called Gary.
But anyway, do you have an opening statement?
Yeah. Why does Danny think this little girl is called Gary? Is she also a plumber? Like.
Good opening statement. I like it. You know, you covered all the bases there. A fantastic sequel that doesn't even try to copy the original and ups the stakes, expands the lore without it seeming far-fetched or ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. It. I really like this movie. I like that. I like that everything's really dirty. It's the same as from the first one.
Yeah.
Everything being dirty is quite a satisfying thing in a funny way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that kind of does make sense that things are all super dirty.
Everything's very sweaty. But there you go. Do you have any CRQs?
I do.
Are you sure?
I'm just sorry. I'm looking. Sorry, I'm on the IMDb page. I'm like, and there's pictures of things that I don't remember happening in the film. I'm sure they did happen, and maybe I was like looking away or checking my phone or something. I'm massively distracted.
That's all right.
Right. Okay. There's an alien queen. So right, the thing that I always think the aliens must be like is ants, or bees maybe, because they're kind of insecty in their vibe.
Yeah.
And there's a queen who lays eggs, and then there's we talked about the sort of horrendous life cycle the last episode.
Yeah.
But like the queen lays eggs. So does that mean this is my theory, right? Because all bees are female, pretty much, because of the way they reproduce. There's like no male bees, or they become male. I listened to a podcast about bees about a year ago. So this is very poorly remembered. So here's my hot theory: is that the alien in Alien and Aliens is a girl boss. That's my that's my hot theory.
I mean, that does seem to be the trend that Hollywood is like going on. Like,
Yeah.
Like, rather than like compassion and like, you know, being a decent person, a girl boss nowadays seems to be, oh my god, she skins puppies. She's a great feminist role model.
Oh my god, that is amazing, isn't it? When somebody told me, yeah, the plot for Cruella is that her villain origin story is that Dalmatians killed her mum, I was like, oh my god, what? Dalmatians killed her mum?
Wait.
It's brilliant. I love that.
I'm being deliberately facetious because there is some nuance to the Cruella film.
Yeah.
But maybe we can do one day. But like, it's like, you know, choosing the character that is just known for wanting a fucking coat out of some Dalmatian puppies and being like, I am woman, hear me roar. It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, no! Come on!
Yeah.
There's so much.
You don't get to have both a female empowerment story and a lady that wants to skin puppies.
Because
I don't think those things really go hand in hand.
Because women that want to skin puppies don't deserve to be empowered, pal. You know, it's just so... Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah, it's but no. Anyway, going back to this, somehow we're on a tangent of a tangent. But yeah, this strange modern trend of girl boss being a very cruel, wicked person. It's very weird.
Yes,
because it's there's like a lot of feminist literature and stuff that talks about how the problem with having a feminist character in a film be an identical clone of a male character. Oh, but she's a woman. The problem with that is that then her being a woman isn't relevant to the story, if that makes sense. It's I think I'm butchering a quote that I'm misremembering by somebody, but I think my problem with this modern trend of cruel, strange girl boss characters is, well, then that's not an interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same character we've had before. They just happen to be a woman, so you're not actually doing anything interesting with the story or with the characters.
Yeah.
So, yes, have female-led movies, but also have them be interesting characters.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something good, it's worth doing it properly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. I do think that this film is like a sort of spiritual, like as well as just like a sequel. It's like a successor, because in the first film it is just a horrible sort of life cycle, and it's like a parody of birth and life starting, and in some cases like motherhood and stuff like that. Whereas this film sort of goes one step further and doesn't make a joke out of it, and like doesn't say that it's dreadful all the time, and the fact that Ripley actually fights the mother of the horrible paradoxical life cycle, and has a surrogate daughter when her birth daughter is like she's dead. She's been asleep for 50 years and she just is gone. Which is like it's sort of like, life is horrible and cruel and the universe doesn't care about you, but at the same time humans have this extremely tenacious ability to make meaning and to make connections, if you know what I mean.
That's something I like about it's somehow in both this and Doctor Who, which seem to be our big thing is Doctor Who. But yeah, it's about how humans sort of untenable. No, that's not the right word. Humans sort of strong nature of like they will always pack bond with anything.
Yeah,
which is something sort of in a weird way. It's quite sweet when you see it in real life. How humans like they'll put googly eyes on their Roomba and then start cuddling up to it and be like, "Oh, it's Steve, my Roomba," and then they start stroking the Roomba. It's weirdly sweet. Humans have this innate desire and ability to sort of love, and I think it's a wonderful thing to see portrayed in films.
Yeah,
and it's a wonderful thing to see questioned. Of like, well, Ripley wants to sort of love this girl that she finds whose parents have died, and is that just an inherently good? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's almost. I really fucking like aliens, man.
It's almost I feel it almost like it's a bit like Logan. Have you ever seen Logan?
I have. It was brilliant.
He's we should probably do Logan at some point. But
definitely, yeah.
This podcast is just us discovering films and shit that we need to do rather than but
it's the longest to-do list I have, because as soon as I finish them, I've thought of 100 more things.
Yeah, but like sort of tonally, it's like a person who, for all intents and purposes, is at the end of their rope and has lost most things in their lives, and like because of circumstance, they have like a new sort of reason to continue or to be somewhat happy again. With Ripley, you've got her like basically losing her entire family, and because she's been asleep for so long, and like all she can do now is like just live with her cat. It's like and then the fact that some of these xenomorphs have survived, her only desire, and it's not a very good desire to have, is to just completely exterminate a different life form. I mean, it's like I'm not. That's another thing I'm going to ask in a minute. But like, and with Logan, he's like all he has is Patrick Stewart, and he's like just miserable and he's drinking, and then he finds this little girl that he has to sort of look after. So it's like, tonally they're quite similar.
Yeah.
But what's the correct response to the xenomorph extermination? Is it completely wholly justified to eradicate them?
Well, the thing is, they're less of a life form, more of a disease. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because all they do is kill. If this was like a self-defense thing, or they were trying to build a colony or something, then I would kind of think, okay, well maybe leave them on their own and they'll, I don't know, kill rats or something. Then maybe if they develop a culture and language and stuff like that, maybe there's redeeming qualities to them. But they would never do that.
Yeah.
Because they've been genetically engineered to just be murdering psychopath alien things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no redeeming. There's no arc that you could put an alien through. At which point they come out the other side like a good person. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What if they became like pets? What if they were like domesticated?
How precisely would one domesticate an alien?
I don't know. What if you like captured an alien and like tried to like alter it genetically, and then try and get rid of some of the bad shit that was put in it.
So you're kind of describing what humans have done to wolves.
Yeah, a little
In a very
bit.
strange way. Yeah, like an extreme version of that. Like, eventually, would you get like an alien that's like a little pug?
Yeah, like an
A little French bulldog alien. Yeah.
Shit, what's that film? It's an animated film, and the dog in it is like a xenomorph sort of clone thing, and it's like it pisses acid. It's actually really
have
cute.
No idea.
It's really. Oh, I need to find it. Now. It's like animated alien film. It's like a human comes to an alien world, and it's
Right.
like, oh my god, an alien, because it's like it's an astronaut that's come to an alien world. I can't think. Planet 51. That's what it's called.
Okay.
And it's got a little xenomorph dog in it, as a sort of a callback to Alien, obviously. But what if you could make xenomorphs like that? That'd be, they could they'd still be pissing acid, which isn't good. But
But then I suppose the question, because the xenomorph, it's not like it's not a distinct species. The only reason the xenomorph looks the way it does is because it's been hosted and grown by a human. If it jumped out of the egg and onto a penguin, then it would look a bit like a penguin. If it jumped out of the egg and jumped onto a snake, then it'd be a little snake thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's.
I mean, do they
You know what
age?
it reminds me of? It's like cordyceps fungus. Are you aware of them?
No.
They are a fungus where the spores get into the body of an ant. I think it's an ant. It might be a spider. And then they sort of infect the brain of the ant, and the ant starts to behave differently and climbs up a tree and jumps off to kill itself.
Yeah.
So that then the mushroom can grow in the earth. It's like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they are a species because it literally is just like a weird clone race. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. What I really don't like is the fact that Burke tries to use the ethical sort of ramifications to protect his money, his financial installation. He's like, there's a big dollar sign attached to this installation, and then they're like, and we don't give a shit. And he's like, well, you can't execute an entire life for it. It's like, yeah, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? You corporate stooge.
Hello and welcome to Comrade Danny and Comrade Lewis's podcast.
I mean, how can you not, right? The entire reason that this has happened is because of the company, Wayland Yutani or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's like, well, maybe not the entire. I mean, there's the Prometheus film where you get to know why the ship is there, but I ignore them. I just think that the two fit. These are the two that I count. Oh, and Alien Isolation, the video game.
Which I have literally zero knowledge of.
Oh man! So you play.
Tell me a bit about that game.
So you play Ripley's daughter, Amanda.
Okay.
Who, she's heard about the Nostromo, going offline and no contact being made, and they haven't returned home. So this is as Alien is happening, and Amanda goes out to a station called Sevastopol Station to get the flight recorder for the Nostromo.
Okay.
To find out exactly what happened to her mother, and then aliens obviously get involved. I mean, because another group of people have been to the derelict ship, and the aliens end up getting on board, and then you have to sort of survive and sort of figure out a way to get rid of them.
Okay.
But the AI in that game for the alien is so fucking intelligent. It is unbelievable. I have no idea how there hasn't been a game since where you feel as if an alien is stalking you and coming after you. It's like you make noise, regardless of where it is in the map, it will come and find you. It's like it can in some instances it can outsmart you, and so it's really 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 scary to try to try and avoid it. And it ends quite ambiguously because, like, we don't. Amanda, we actually don't know what happens to her, so we don't know whether she like dies there or whether she manages to get home. But it's like,
Yeah.
again, it's that sort of uncertainty, and it adds to sort of Ripley's sort of trauma of not knowing what happened to her daughter because we don't even know, so we empathise with her more in that sense. And the fact that it came out in like 2013, so it came out much later. And Sigourney Weaver actually recorded like a sort of note in it for Amanda, the character that you play, so to sort of keep the sort of lore sort of, you know, connected.
Consistent in a funny way, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a really good game. So those are the three that I only count, you know, for the Alien franchise. But yeah, and you learn more about Weyland-Yutani, and how, you know, their company's like full of like corruption, and androids are given more lore. Like androids are like more accepted, and like they obviously turn on you as well. The androids are really scary in that game actually, and I like in this film where it's like, again, I'm going back to this sort of spiritual successor sort of thing. It's like the android presence in this film sort of is ironically more deserving of life than some of the humans in the story, which is kind of, you know, sad but nice.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's I love Bishop the android. I think it's he's really cool. There's something. I love a good android character, full stop. But I love Bishop and I love Data. I think there's something about not the vanity as such, but the fact that they question themselves.
Yep.
That I think I really, really enjoy that, and it's something you don't see like C-3PO or R2-D2 or anybody do. I think it's something very nice about seeing an android question themselves and question their own existence a bit. It's nice.
Yep. It's like a sort of, it's being envious of what human beings take for granted. You know?
Yes, exactly.
It's like a greater sort of appreciation in some cases for life than human beings, and consciousness and sort of like belonging and love and stuff like that. Because, you know, it's like,
yeah, because there's that TNG episode, Measure of a Man, where Data is literally on trial. Like, okay, are you a human? Are you a robot? Are you somewhere in the middle? The fuck's going on, sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
No. Ignoring the canon, how do you think xenomorphs like evolved?
I know you said ignoring the canon, but the entire point is that they didn't evolve, right?
We'll say they did evolve. How would they have evolved, in your opinion? Okay,
so I think that's something you can see. I mean, obviously, the only evidence we have for evolution is on Earth. So the trend you see on Earth evolution is to get cleverer and just to sort of incrementally get better at whatever incredibly niche ecological thing you do.
Yeah.
So like parrotfish or whatever get slightly stronger beaks with each generation so that they can bite bits of coral off and poop out the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And you get like obviously that's the trend of humans, is our brains have gotten bigger, so our heads have gotten bigger, and that's the trend sort of thing.
Yep.
So tracking that backwards, so the alien obviously is very intelligent and very mobile. So we have to track it backwards, so to a stupid, not very mobile version of the alien.
Yeah.
Which would be some kind of shitty little lizard, I guess. Because if so, the alien eggs, how long can they lie dormant for? Because if they can lie dormant for centuries or something, then the evolution would take an incredibly slow period of time.
Yeah.
That's why evolutionary biologists study insects, is because the life cycle of a cricket is 3 weeks. So they can study evolution very quickly because you can get through 100 generations in a year or whatever. So, that's probably not true, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's a really interesting question. So, backtracking the evolution, you'd need a sort of stupid, not very mobile lizard creature.
Yep.
They have acid blood and an exoskeleton. I thought about this before. There's a thing in science, where your EM chemicals, lithium, sodium, magnesium. I need to have a look at a periodic table to remember what they're called. Hang on, everybody. Your periodic table. Yes, the Group 1 elements, which I've completely fucking forgotten the name of. Group 1 elements: lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. Or francium, I don't think anybody really knows. They react with water to explode. That's just a thing they do. They have to be stored, submerged in oil, because if they interact too much with oxygen and with water, then they explode.
Yeah.
So my theory has always been that the exoskeleton of the Xenomorph is one of those Group 1 elements. Because while they are quite soft, things like lithium and sodium, it could be a lithium-sodium alloy or something, because like lithium-ion batteries, they're not soft.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You couldn't just crumble one in your hands. So I've always thought maybe the exoskeleton is a Group 1 metal like lithium, where when it comes into contact with oxygen, or when it comes into contact with water in the bloodstream, it becomes an acid, or it becomes some kind of corrosive liquid. These are all just things I've thought about Alien in the years since I first watched the film. So combining those things, they've got metal exoskeletons, like those flying manta rays from that episode of Doctor Who.
Yes.
So maybe they were some kind of underwater lizardy, squiddy manta ray thing that was stupid and not very mobile, and then they got access to minerals and metals in rocks, like coral, like parrotfish. Bloody hell, it's all coming together. Like parrotfish. The digestive system of a parrotfish, they chomp off bits of rock. They have very, very strong beaks. They chomp off bits of coral, then eat it up and poo out sand, and then the sand becomes ocean floor and beaches and, anywhere you'd find sand.
Yeah.
So these ancient xenomorph creatures were little parrotfish things which ate rocks which had a high concentration of lithium in them. The ocean would have to be some kind of non-water water, some kind of I don't know, some kind of oil-based liquid or something. I don't know. So they then had a lot of lithium in their bodies, which they started processing into bones and exoskeletons.
Yeah.
And then I think through the natural selection over time of creatures which are more mobile and more intelligent, I think you'd go from squiddy fish thing that eats metal in rocks to a xenomorph. That's my answer.
There you go. Whoa! Give him a round of applause, folks.
I feel like I need a shower.
Jesus Christ. Do you know what? What's interesting is that the xenomorph. I've changed the pronunciation about 3 times. The xenomorph has an instinct to kill, but it doesn't kill its own kind, which is but somehow it's unclouded by conscience or remorse or delusions of morality, but it still has the ability to recognise members of its own species.
Maybe it's a tactical thing. Maybe it's aware of its sort of tactical, the tactical advantage of having more of you. Like if you were going into a medieval battle or whatever, or even just a not medieval battle. If you were in the Xenomorph's place in this movie, and we were fighting a load of Martians, and it was me and you'd sort of realise maybe it's better to have 4 hands instead of 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do you know?
But then, which one of us would Ripley crush with a hydraulic suit?
Do you know what would have been really interesting? Is if all the xenomorphs were individually just meant to kill everything, and ended up killing each other.
Yeah, that would have been quite interesting. It's like an oversight almost in the genetics.
Yeah, it doesn't even recognise its members of its own species. It's just so hostile to all other forms of life, even its own. That would be kind of interesting. It's individual survival that is all that it cares about, rather than
that would be very interesting. Yeah,
but
it's almost like how a fly is more of a robot than it is a animal.
Yeah,
because it's just like if you're near a wind source, near a sun source, go towards it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any kind of brain. It just has impulses.
Unless a window's open, and then it can't fucking. It's like that scene in Family Guy where Peter's trying to tell a fly how to get out the window, It's like, wait, is it over here? Where is it? No, it's there. It's there. Look, right in front of you. Oh, I can't really see it. I'm just gonna go back upstairs. And it just flies off. But
I tell you something I've got weirdly good at is Aldi for a bit. They sold these spider catchers, which essentially are like litter pickers, but instead of 2 pinchy things, it's like a little, it's like 10 or 20 pinchy things that are sort of soft.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you open them and then close them around the spider, and the spider is sort of entrapped by the sheer number of arms that are around it, and then you stick the end out of a window and drop the spider onto the street, sort of thing, and then that's how you get rid of the spider. It's really good because then you're 1.5 meters away from the spider that you're trying to catch, so it makes it slightly less terrifying.
Yeah.
But the thing I've gotten weirdly good at is catching insects out of the air with it. I did it completely as a fluke once. I caught a wasp with one. It was flying around the kitchen at I think it was my mum and dad's house. And I had one of these things, and I caught a wasp out of the air with it. And I was like, oh my god! And I remember shouting, Chloe, open the front door! And I just sort of threw the wasp out the door, sort of thing, and slammed the door. But yeah, now that's the way I catch flies. It's with one of these things.
Yeah.
Trying to catch flies out of the air with it. After a bit, I normally succeed. Moths are a bit tricky, though, because they're so flat.
Well,
it's hard to catch a moth, because they just wiggle out.
Well, it's an art that I'm sure that you've mastered since.
That and Tetris.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 skills.
Excellent. I'm trying to think. How is wait? Sorry, you compared Tetris to like catching flies, like with.
No, I'm just very good at Tetris.
Oh, you're just listing 2 unrelated.
I'm listing 2 unrelated things that I'm good at. Yeah.
I see. The ending's a bit abrupt, isn't it?
It is a bit.
It's like, oh, fine, let's go to sleep, dream, and then it ends. It's like there's not really a lot of time to sort of
process what you've just seen.
Yeah.
It's like when you finish a book, and it's like if it's like an old sort of Penguin Publishing type book or something. You finish it, you read the last page, and then you close the book and put it down. You think, whoa, and then you're sort of like processing it. But if it's a more modern printing of a book, then you turn the last page, then you turn it, and it's like, and now an advert for the next book, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, or when you're reading on a Kindle, and you click on the next page, you read the last page, click next page, and it takes you to the Kindle store for the next book.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. So it is a bit like that. It's like such an abrupt ending, and it's like, okay, now it's the end. Leave the cinema.
No, definitely. But I think I might be out of notes.
I think I'm also out of notes. We're running on about 50 minutes of this.
Yeah, I know, we're like 10 minutes behind. Oh, fuck it. Do you know what? I'm not going to force out some half-baked fucking bullshit argument to sort of tide as it. Listen, we've said what we've said. We've said what we've said about the film. Shut up.
Let's do closing statements, and then I've got a bit of bullshit.
Oh, okay.
We're going to do a double bullshit.
Oh my god, 2 segments.
Yeah, Zombieland 2, double bullshit.
Oh, there you go. What's
that film called? Double Tap. The first one was good. I haven't seen the second one.
I haven't seen the second one either. But anyway,
Woody Harrelson's a bit.
Yeah. A very good film. But why the fuck does James Cameron love mech suits so much?
Are you telling me you don't love mech suits?
I do, but like he's
get out of my podcast.
No, it's in Avatar. It's in this. I'm sure it'll be in something else.
Yeah. What else has he done? Yeah, there's the famous mech suits from Titanic. There's the mech suits from Terminator. There's
shut up!
Famous mech suits. Oh, wouldn't that make Titanic so much better if, like, Jack and Rose are in that car, and then just like a worker on the Titanic comes around the corner, what are you doing in that car? And then this big mech suit. Or if the car turned into a transformer, Jack and Rose are like in it as though it's a big mech.
Rose.
Oh god.
Rose pretending that there's not enough space on the floating board, and Ripley shows up in a big mech suit and just shouts, "Get away from him, you bitch!"
And then plucks Leonardo DiCaprio out of the ocean and gives him a piggyback ride to, where are they? To New York.
Yeah.
That's where
and she's like, "It's okay, Newt, I've got you." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "What?"
Yeah, perfect. My closing statement is one of the classic action movies. It has a brilliant blend of creepy terror and also ridiculous action. there are bits that remind you of Predator. You know that bit in Predator when Arnold Schwarzenegger and his mates are like, "Oh, the Predator's in that jungle somewhere," and they all shoot at a bit of jungle and successfully cut down several trees with the power of guns. There are bits that remind you of that, but there are also bits that are slightly reminiscent of the first movie. I really like this movie. It's a really good one.
No, definitely. But I want to hear some of your bullshit, so I'm going to spin the wheel again. You ready?
Yes. I forgot that Discord hates this noise, so I can't tell when the wheel has stopped.
The wheel has now stopped.
Fantastic. Okay, mushrooms are the fucking coolest thing in the world
No, they're
ever.
not. No, they're not.
Yes, they fucking... Shut the fuck up.
Disgusting.
Mushrooms are really cool. No, okay, they might be disgusting, but they're also really interesting. Do you want to hear a fucked up fact about mushrooms?
Yes.
Okay, let's say you're in the forest. There you are. You're walking along. You're like, "Hi, I'm Danny. I'm in a forest." And then you're walking along and you see in the ground some mushrooms. You're thinking, "Wow, that's mushrooms. That must be the whole plant." Psych, bitch. No, it's not. That is just the dick of the mushroom plant. How fantastic is that? The actual mushroom plant is called mycelium and it's underground. And the actual bit that you see is just the fruit of the plant that shoots out spores and then just dies and decomposes. How fascinating is that? I think that's absolutely amazing.
That is quite fascinating.
And even more interesting, I listened to a podcast about mushrooms, and now I just think mushrooms are the fucking coolest. Mushrooms, there's like they grow in different substances, which is fairly obvious. So there's that whole thing. Oh, my work treat me like a mushroom. They keep me in the dark and feed me shit, and that's funny jokes. But also, not all mushrooms do like manure. It's white button mushrooms, the kind of thing that you would have in like your kitchen. Those are fed on manure, and I think chestnut mushrooms are as well. I'm not 100% on that one. So the idea is that you have like a substrate of manure, which is what the technical term is, and you sort of inoculate like sterile water with mushroom spores, and then you sort of push the water into the manure at sort of strategic locations, and you'll get little mushroom mycelium colonies growing throughout the manure.
Yeah.
Then it will eat it slowly, and then the fruiting body will be mushrooms that poke up through the top, which I think is utterly fantastic. But the interesting thing is, a lot of mushrooms do not like manure. They would not grow on manure. The majority of mushrooms grow on wood, whether it's old wood or dead wood or fresh wood or anything, they'll grow on that. For example, I was looking at it's one of my weird garden plans is I want to start growing mushrooms. Because there was a load of trees in our back garden. I've had to cut bits of them down and stuff. So now I have some tree stumps in my back garden. Mm-hmm. Turns out tree stumps are a great place to grow mushrooms. There's this mushroom called chicken of the woods.
Right.
Apparently it's supposed to taste like chicken, and that's why it's called that. And the idea behind this, I saw this kit online where you get these sort of plugs which are full of mushroom spores. So you drill a hole into a tree stump, poke the mushroom spores in, and then sort of seal the hole with this sort of wax that they give you. And then it grows in the tree stump. The mycelium grows throughout the entire tree stump and absorbs nutrients through the roots of the tree and all this sort of stuff. And then you get fruiting mushrooms on the outside of the tree. I just think that's so fascinating.
Well, you would need a tree stump. Where are you going to get a tree stump?
Well, I have one.
Oh, you've got one. Oh, fine, cool.
Yeah, exactly. I just think mushrooms are really fucking cool as a concept. From concept to execution, I fucking love a good mushroom.
Well, I think mushrooms taste disgusting, and are rubbery as fuck. And I would destroy all mushrooms if I had the power to.
Well, here's a hot question. How many different types of mushroom have you tasted?
I don't know.
I would bet it's somewhere between 0 and 2. That would be my guess.
Well, I don't know, so I can't verify that.
well, I'm going to spuriously guess nonsense anyway. But like the reason there's another reason I started thinking about mushrooms is our veg guy that delivers veg. He has occasionally this exotic mushroom mix, is what the brand that packaged these mushrooms calls it. And it's got like king oyster mushrooms and pearl mushrooms and all these really interesting types of mushroom. Some that are like pink, some that are yellow, some that are really long and sort of really tasty and interesting. The texture is so different and the taste is so different. I fucking love mushrooms. They're such a cool concept and such an interesting, because they're not quite a plant, not quite an animal, not quite other things. They're more closely related to humans than they are to other plants.
Fuck off.
Isn't that fascinating? So that is genuinely true. Google it. 100% true. Here's a fucking interesting fact as well. The thing that makes mushrooms not a plant is in the cell walls, as in little cells of within a mushroom sort of thing, and within mycelium, they have this substance called chitin or chitin, or I'm not entirely sure what the British English pronunciation is. It's either chitin, which I think is the American pronunciation, or chitin, which I think is like an Australian pronunciation. I'm not 100% how it's definitely pronounced. But that is the same substance as is in the shells of beetles and bugs. That's what makes up the shells of a bug. And that's like just a completely coincidence that mushrooms have grown chitin over time and have then used it to sort of form the cells, which is what gives them such a unique texture. I think mushrooms are one of the most fascinating things in the world.
Wow. Well, you've not sold me. No, but maybe you can give me a type of mushroom that I haven't tried, and I'll maybe change my mind on the subject.
Next time you come down to the house, I'll make some kind of mushroom surprise.
Okay.
And it'll just
be mushrooms.
Like 6 little boxes. Yeah. There'll be 6 little boxes, the kind of thing that you'd give someone like an engagement ring in, and you pop open the box, and there's a little mushroom in it that you have to eat. Yeah.
Yeah. We did.
Did we enjoy the second period of bullshit there?
Absolutely, I did. We didn't get many Patreon opinions this week for this film, but we did get one saying from our patron Sophie. When we asked give us your thoughts on Aliens, Sophie said in general or the film, and I said the film. And then she said bore, and then I said, right, fine, give us your thoughts on Aliens then, and we'll put that in, thinking that she was gonna, give us something substantial. And she said, I like them, and then she said, if that doesn't get on the podcast, I'm gonna be raging. So there you go.
Yep.
You're very welcome.
She likes Aliens, everybody, but yep. Dougie said, I've only seen bits and bobs of Aliens. I like how the android says he prefers the term artificial being. Interesting bit of futuristic political correctness.
Yes.
I suppose you're right.
Yeah. I mean, if I was an android, I probably wouldn't like to be called like a synthetic person either.
No, I think call me Lewis or call me nothing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, true.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But there you go.
Or oi fuckface. I'll respond to that if you want. If you're annoyed with me.
Yeah.
Oi fuckface. Yeah.
Oi fucker. Oi wanker.
Wanker.
But yeah, that was Aliens.
Indeed, it was.
With a little bit of mushrooms thrown in. And let's shall we do some shilling, Lewis?
Yeah, let's do a bit of shilling.
Okay.
This week's sponsor is the mushroom department of the local university.
For legal reasons, it isn't.
No, I don't think it has. I don't think we have like a fungusology department at Staffordshire University.
No,
I have no idea.
Maybe we could start one.
Maybe we could.
Yeah.
Maybe we could.
Probably shouldn't. But we have link trees, and Lewis's link tree is linktr.ee/Lewis_Brindley. Mine's is /O'Hiram, and the podcast's is /Shouting Into the Void. There you'll find our socials, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, so go have a look. We have a PayPal donate button, so anything you can spare, anything at all would be greatly appreciated. We have Patreon, and we want to take the opportunity, as we do every week, to thank our wonderful, wonderful patrons. Chloe.
Thank you.
Darius.
Thank you.
Sophie.
Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you.
Aditya.
Thank you.
Richard.
Thank you.
Natalie.
Thank you.
And Dougie.
Thank you, one and all. You allow us to keep doing the things that we need to do. The podcast is up for renewal at the minute, so you are literally financing the entire existence of the podcast.
Yes.
So thank you very, very much for that. It does mean the world that you're wanting to be such a big part of how we make the show, and it does mean a lot to have a nice little community on Discord, and to have to know that there are people that do support and enjoy what we do. It really does mean the world. So thank you.
Absolutely. So thank you. We also have merch on Teespring and Redbubble. We sell tote bags, jumpers, t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of shit. Go have a look, see what you like, treat yourself. Why don't you treat yourself? You deserve it, you beautiful human.
Yeah.
And last but not least, we have a partner. I have no idea why I pronounced. We have a partner. Hello. I don't know why I pronounced that so fucking weirdly. We are partnered with an amazing company called Number 12 Crochet Avenue, and Lewis is going to say some wonderful things about them, all of which are true.
Number 12 Crochet Avenue is a wonderful company run by my wonderful wife, in which she crochets, and she's very, very good at it. If you would like to see what she is up to in the world of crochet, which I would very much recommend as a very aesthetically pleasing Instagram edition, you can go to @Number 12 Crochet Avenue on Instagram. It is, quite simply, a brilliant time. So go and take a look.
Please do. Well, that was Aliens, folks. And yeah, I enjoyed doing that. That was a good.
I did too.
Yeah.
Do you have a favourite mushroom, listener? If you do, please comment. If you're watching on some kind of service which allows you to comment.
Yeah, there you go. But now, Lewis, it is time to decide what we're doing next week.
It is. Spin that wheel.
Yes. We are doing the film Yesterday.
Yeah, I love this movie. It's I don't like the Beatles very much, but I like this movie.
Well,
go on.
No, I was waiting on you.
Oh no, yeah. It's a really good sort of heartfelt movie. It's on UK Netflix at the minute, so if you have Netflix, it's worth giving it a watch before you listen to the episode. If not, we're probably just going to talk about like being nice to people. That's kind of what the film's about. So
Yeah.
It's a really, really good movie. It has some really interesting things to say about sort of life and happiness and what it means to be true to yourself and all this sort of thing. I really like this movie.
Yes.
And I listened to the album pretty much on repeat on Spotify because Himesh Patel has a beautiful voice. So yeah, give the film a watch. It's on UK Netflix, and we'll be talking about it next week.
Brilliant. Well, yeah. So thank you so much for listening, and we will see you, hear you. God, I'm fucking speechless today. We will see.
It's coming up on lunch. It's blood sugar.
Yeah, I know. I need something to eat. I need some mushrooms.
That's the way you said that. So desperate.
I need something to eat.
I need something to eat, Lewis. I know.
We will see you, hear you, smell you.
It's hearing you desperately struggle through this.
Get some lunch next time.
Yes. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Goodbye.